encounter.
I've got another feeling.
It feels very...
Hello and welcome to the Unwanted Opinion podcast, the show in which me and my friends give our unwanted opinion on all things film. My name is Lewis and I'm joined today with Kyle.
Hi, hello.
Hi, hello, and it's just Kyle today, no Gonzalo, because he
That was
didn't do his
such, that was
homework
such
this
a
week.
lineup, and it's just Kyle.
Yeah, and it's just Kyle,
Such
yeah,
a
'cause
layup,
Gonzalo
wasn't
didn't
it?
do his homework. But yes, he will be hopefully joining us next week. But yes, on today's episode, we'll be talking about Creed 3, the latest installment in the Creed/Rocky franchise, although not so much Rocky anymore. We'll get into that. And we'll also we'll go into a spoiler-free section and have a spoiler-filled section. There will be time codes below if you want to just obviously know when the spoilers are coming, or just jump to the spoilers if you're a psychopath. And of course, we'll have another review for The Sanctuary, which is this kind of erotic thriller/drama/comedy. And that'll be reviewed at the end of
the
today's
erotic
show.
thrillers.
Yes,
I had to.
I'm kind of happy Gonzalo's not here because he would just be slating me right now.
Yeah.
Because that film has this whole like dynamic between a dominatrix and a sub, and I was like, I'm gonna withhold with telling you the plot.
You and David Lynch. that's the dominatrix and the submissive at the moment. But yeah,
let's just
Creed 3.
jump right into Creed 3. So this is the spoiler-free section, guys, so listen ahead if you are just interested in the film and want to go see it and want to hear our opinions, or unwanted opinions, of course. So we'll just do our spoiler-free section here. So, Creed 3 stars and is directed by Michael B. Jordan. This is his directorial debut, jumping into a big franchise in his first film, which is quite daunting. And it was written by Zach Balin and Keenan Coogler, brother to Ryan Coogler, who is an executive producer and actually scripted the story for this. So,
Nice.
And he was also director of the first Creed, so, going back to its roots and getting Ryan Coogler involved in some capacity is kind of a good idea for Michael B. Jordan in the studio.
Who directed Creed 2? Because
I can't remember who directed Creed 2 in all honesty.
I'll just
have to check that out.
Stephen.
I know it wasn't
Cable
Coogler. I know
Jr.
Coogler was just a producer in that. Oh,
Stephen Cable Jr.
Oh, right, okay. That name sounds familiar. I feel like he's done other stuff.
Well, I suspect he does other stuff, but
yes, I suspect he does other jobs and directs other things. Yes,
but yeah, Creed 3.
Yeah, Creed 3. So Creed has long since retired from the boxing scene, with his legacy intact. He's now a committed father to his daughter Amara, who's played by Millie Davis Kent, as well as a committed husband to Bianca, who is of course played by Tessa Thompson, and has been with him since the first Creed film. He also runs his boxing gym too in LA, which he's training the next heavyweight champion of the world. But however, Adonis's life gets turned upside down once an old friend named Damien, who's played by, one of the biggest stars in the world right now, Jonathan Majors, who resurfaces and hopes at a shot of the title himself. And yes, that's sort of where we'll leave it there. I don't want to show as much as the trailer does, because the trailer shows a fair bit if you've seen the trailer.
I do know what's weird. I don't actually think I did. Or maybe I think I saw like a 30-second snippet.
Oh, you didn't see the trailer? Well,
I
never seen the trailers. I was like,
yeah, it's weird for me because the Creed franchise is a weird one for me, Lewis, because I'm not a huge sporting movie kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
I've seen some of the kind of old one. A few classics. But
yeah.
I could honestly say I don't think I've seen any of the Rocky films.
Yeah, you hadn't until Creed, really, right?
Yeah, that's so bizarre. I keep forgetting Creed's technically in the Rocky franchise.
Technically, yes.
Technically.
Yes.
I've not seen any of the kind of Rocky-centered films, 1 to 6, 5? Yeah, 6.
6, yeah.
I never saw Creed 1 until we did the Ryan Coogler episode.
Yeah, I was going to say, you saw that very recently, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen these in a really weird order. I've seen Creed 2, Creed 1, Creed 3. It's very random order.
But so what are your overall thoughts on this franchise, and specifically, I guess this one? Just a quick overall thoughts at first.
In the franchise as a whole, I enjoy it more than I expected to enjoy it. Right.
I like all these films.
Yeah, I don't think I would enjoy the actual Rocky films because I think I'm too invested in the Adonis Creed character.
Yeah,
right?
He's a very good character. Yeah.
And like I said, I enjoyed the first. I enjoyed the second film, which is the one I saw the first. And then cause I've had a wee kind of this is my only kind of gripes I would say with this franchise.
Yeah.
Is the villains, right? Where
Okay.
the first one I saw, which was this comes to my viewing order, is
Yeah,
Creed
you're
2. Where
weird. Yeah.
yeah, it's Creed 2 where
Which is
it's
very, very much like it's Rocky 4 Part 2, really.
yeah,
Like,
it's the
you know,
whole
dealing with the
revenge arc
Dragos.
where the
Yeah,
Dragos are
yeah,
back, who obviously killed Apollo Creed. Spoilers for
yeah,
40 years ago.
yeah.
And I saw that and I was kind of like, okay, that's bit classic, bit cheesy, you know.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's good.
And
Yeah.
then I went to the first Creed and I was like, I kind of like how it's just this random guy. Like, well, technically, I think is he a boxer?
He's a real life fighter, yeah. But in
Yeah,
the film, he plays
he's
someone
a real
else.
life
Yeah,
fighter as
yeah.
well. So I was kind of like, you know, I like a random person. And then it's kind of like they've done one of each. They've done a legacy villain,
Mm-hmm.
a random villain, and now a kind of slightly Marvel-esque villain from your own past
Yeah,
sort of
sort of thing.
thing
Yeah.
with the Adonis Creed character.
Mm-hmm.
No, not the Adonis Creed. Sorry, the Damien
Damon, yeah. I
Anderson.
will say, overall, with all their villains, I've kind of liked their dynamics because they've all been a bit different. Like, they've had the
Mm-hmm.
first villain who was very much like rich boy versus poor boy,
Yes,
sort of whole
yes.
dynamic. And then you had the second one, which is obviously, you know, sort of a revenge thing. You are the son
Family.
of the man who killed my father,
Yeah.
and sort of thing. And then that became obviously a whole like fathers, like, oh, we don't have to like live up to our fathers and all that sort of thing. And now this one is more dealing with his past, like pretty much
Which
it's
is
the ghost of his past. There's a major theme of this whole
which
sort of
is
film, which I like,
which,
and yeah. So just kind of jump in there from that point. The best part of this film to me of Creed 3 was the dynamic and the relationship between Damien and Adonis Creed.
do you know what?
When it focused
100%
on
agree.
that, yeah, when it focused on that, and especially Jonathan Majors, who's just fantastic, really. I mean, if you've not seen, I mean, I've only seen a few films he's been in. One of them being Ant-Man, which he was the best part
Which
of, I
we
will
said
say.
he has been the best
Oh,
part
he
of.
did.
Did
He
you ever
was the
see
best. That's what
Lovecraft
got those 2
Country?
points. I didn't. Did you?
No, I didn't know. See, I saw that
Mm-hmm.
he was in it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm a fan of the whole H.P. Lovecraft
Yeah.
universe. But then I saw it got cancelled after one season, and I'm a
Yeah,
bit like,
which
you
I've
know,
heard. I think
I think I
Gonzalo's
might,
seen that show
I think I
actually.
might watch it
Mhm.
because I really just want to see more Jonathan
Yeah,
Majors.
but
But yeah,
the first film I saw was The Last Black Man in San Francisco, which he's playing out very, very different. He's playing someone who feels much smaller, even though Jonathan Majors is quite a big guy. Who feels very frail, and
massive.
he's actually, I know, and he's also dealing with some sort of mental problems, and he's just sort of a very kind of kind and sort of what's the word, like timid character. That's
Yeah,
it. So it's really interesting to see. He's got such a great range, and he's fantastic in this. He really is. He's got a lot of pathos behind Damien's character because of all that history that the two of them been on. It's very,
so
very
yeah,
believable, and I really like the dynamic between
so
them.
to give some context, obviously
Mhm.
Adonis and Damien knew each other when they were younger,
Yes,
and
yeah.
Damien is a few years older than Adonis,
Hmm.
and he was a kind of up inspiring boxer in the kind of
Yeah,
streets. And
yeah,
then an incident happened which sent
yeah,
Damien to prison,
yeah,
and Adonis didn't go. He got he ran away or from the cops or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And Damien was in for, I think they said it was like 20, 18, 20 years.
18
Yeah,
years, I think it was,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
which puts like, I think they're meant to be in their like mid to late 30s at this stage because
Yeah,
obviously they're meant
yeah.
to be like retired boxers. And there's
Mhm.
all these jokes that Damien's like the old guy, you
Yeah, the
know.
old, yeah,
And
Gramps
basically
and all that is what
Damien,
they say,
yeah,
yeah.
Damien
Mhm.
comes to Adonis and asks for like a shot, you know, a
Mhm.
shot of a career. And he gets the opportunity to have this fight with, I believe, is it Felix Chavs, who's like the kind of, they're the new
He's the
kind of
one they're
up and
training,
coming.
who
Yeah,
Adonis's gym is training to be the next heavyweight champion of the world, yeah.
yeah. So
Mhm.
Felix is actually meant to fight uh, Victor Drago
Ivan,
from the
yeah,
last
Victor
film.
Drago, yeah.
And an incident happens and Victor has to drop out.
Mhm.
So they're looking for somebody to fight and Damien comes in.
Yeah.
And then this is like her kind of first fight. And now there's a scene, right? Now
Mhm.
you probably, because I almost clapped because I was like, "Phew, Michael B. Jordan was really putting his director's hat on with
Yeah.
this shot." And
Mhm.
it's so there's a wee prep talk, you know.
Mhm.
Adonis is talking to Damien, and then they leave, and there's the
Yeah,
kind
the
of
hallway scene,
the
the hallway
hallway,
shot, I
and
should say.
it's a hallway shot where there's a perfect kind of brick wall down the side of the two of them, and
And they're as
me and
if
my
looking
cousin
through
looked
the
at each
wall. It's
other.
great.
Yeah, we
Uh,
looked at each other and we went, he was on fire there. He knew what he was
yeah,
doing. He
yeah,
knew
it
what he
was.
was
It
doing.
was nice. Yeah, sort of being like, oh yes, there's still this sort of literal. In that scene, there's a literal wall, but there's an invisible
Literal wall
barrier
between them.
between the two of them, and because of the way they sort of
And
left their
and
relationship.
it's
Yeah.
interesting because we get a lot of human aspects from Adonis's character this time
Yeah.
around. So with his daughter, Amara, she's got now. Also interesting. So her character is deaf as well.
Yeah.
Kind of a condition from her mother Blanca, who can now
Bianca,
no
yeah.
longer sing as a progression from her story
Yeah,
arc.
yeah, that was. Yeah.
Is now producing and creating songs from other people. And there's a whole her kind of getting a wee bit of the fire in her, like her
Yes,
father and
yes.
grandfather.
She's got kind of both the sort of aggression from her father and the deafness that she got from her mother's side. So it was an interesting thing. And actually, I was listening to an interview with Michael B. Jordan, and something that he said about the film was that he said this, but I never really saw it much in the film. But he was like, well, so much of the film was about communicating through your hands. Like, he's obviously has to sign for his daughter, which communicates,
Right, yeah.
which is a sign of, like, when he's communicating with her, it's, a communication of love and caring. And then when he's in the ring, he's using the same tools.
Communication with his fists.
Yeah, some communication with fists, which is a more aggression and anger and stuff. I was like, that was an interesting point, and I liked that. But I thought, because he said that, I was like, oh, he's going to show that more visually in the film. But I guess it's not like, there's not like a specific shot focused on hands other than outside signing and stuff like that. But yeah.
Can we talk about, so obviously this is a boxing film. Can we talk about the fights, actually?
Yes, yeah. We won't spoil, we won't spoil some of the aspects and some of the cinematic choices of some of the fights, because I think
I know what you're talking about, so I will avoid that. Now, as a self-proclaimed weeb, I would say.
Yes.
See, when I saw interviews that he was like, "Oh yeah, I took inspiration," I didn't think he took that much inspiration, because there are so many. There's, especially in the final fight, there are at least 2 shots that are straight out of Dragon Ball Z, and I didn't realize how far he went.
I know there's one from Naruto as well. That's just something I just saw on Twitter. I just saw. I think there was this one from Naruto. But yeah, like, and also the way they sort of handle the final showdown. Like I said, I won't spoil it here during the spoiler section. It kind of leans into kind of anime sort of. If you get
it's weird. So we'll talk about that later, because apparently he was even going to go further, but he didn't.
Oh, was he? Oh, wow.
So
Okay,
we'll drop back to that. But I especially love especially in the early fights. I don't know why. I don't know if it was in my cinema that was in, but I swear they just cranked up the volume for every hit, because
really?
after watching Creed 1, I don't know if it's the cinema aspect, right?
Yeah.
Rather than, because I watched Creed 1 in my house, and when I watched Creed 3, every punch felt so powerful with the sound effect, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking, thank God I'm not in one of those 4DX things, or my back would be killing me at this rate. With
They would be
punching
you exactly with the 4DX. Oh, I hate that.
You would come out with a spinal injury. I really enjoyed the fights. The last one, like I said, we'll talk about later. But as you know, I think Michael B. Jordan has had a lot of kind of practice on set. I think it really helps him that this is his first directorial debut of a franchise that he's had 2 films
very
working
familiar with, and he's also working with like Ryan
the same
Coogler,
crew
who wrote the story and is producing. So, and he has mentioned that he obviously has a lot of communication with Ryan and sort of help from him as well. So, which was great. I mean, just sorry, what were you gonna say?
No, sorry, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and like, just leaning more into the positive sides first. I really liked these sort of themes of like toxic masculinity they had, and this inability to open up to those he loves.
Yes, that was really good.
That's Adonis. I think that's all done quite successfully, and there's a specific moment which is like, tackling that stuff and dealing with your trauma, and we'll get to more spoilers about certain scenes, which sort of release him from like the shackles of his own trauma. But yeah, now I do kind of need to talk about the
This is where I was going, I
Rocky,
think.
the Rocky stuff, because
Yes.
I should say that Sylvester Stallone is not in this film, and he's very seldom mentioned at all in the film because Sylvester Stallone fell out with one of the producers of this entire franchise. Because I think, and it wasn't because of the Creed films, it was because of, I cannot remember the name of the producer, right? But he wanted
Isaac.
to basically,
It was Isaac something, I want to
yes,
say.
yeah, he wanted to make another spin-off on the Dragos, basically, and I think he wanted to do a TV series or a film of that. And Sylvester Stallone was like, "You're kind of taking the piss now. Like, this isn't Marvel. This isn't. There's not a million comics on this. Like, it's Rocky, and now it's like subsequently Creed, and
Well,
you're taking the piss by
is he
trying to
also
really."
a bit pissed
Uh,
at the fact that certain producer owns the
yeah,
actual Rocky
yeah.
name?
Sylvester Stallone is the creator of Rocky and basically this whole 9-film thing now, but
Because I believe he
he
sold
doesn't
it
own it.
to him.
He does. Yeah, he
I,
doesn't
yeah,
own it.
I read somewhere that he did sell it to him in the kind of
Yeah, because
I think it
when
was
Sylvester
between
Stallone
one of the
was
Rockies.
poor, when he was poor and needed money.
He sold the rights to the Rocky character he created to this producer,
Yeah,
and then like you say that, I think the success of this spin-off, they want to go on a very, like, say, Marvel-esque.
they want to get, and that's why I think that when they announced they wanted to do that Drago thing, I think Stallone just lost it and was like, "No, don't stop! You're taking the piss." And then he's just like, "Well, I'm just not going to be in this film, and then I'm not going to be in any of this anymore." And
Now,
because of that, it does lead for me as a little bit of, it does lead to a little bit of an issue in the film where even Rocky's house, not Rocky, sorry, Creed's house has no pictures or
yeah,
memorabilia of
it's
Rocky. There's no really, I think there's one very loose mention of him in the entire film. He's obviously not there to coach or there to like be someone that Adonis can like confide in. And it's not like, obviously, it's not like a sad situation where Sylvester Stallone's passed away. It's just, it's a little irritating because he was so important to that
character.
first Creed film and that second
Oh
one.
yeah,
And yeah, it is a shame that he's not in this one.
it's weird you say that, right? I know, because I do believe that, but I didn't feel coming out of it that it was
Right.
missing Rocky,
Okay.
right? Because I think I was so, yeah, the true it was, like, especially when Damien and Adonis are hanging out in kind of
Yeah.
Adonis's man cave.
He's got the pool and he's got a massive like
He's
picture
got,
of him.
you are kind of going, there's no Rocky here.
Yeah.
And for most of it, I didn't feel there was even needed, like, Rocky. I felt like the story didn't need him.
Okay,
There
fair.
was one part, which will
Uh-huh.
come into spoilers,
Yeah.
that I was like, I felt like this is the one kind of scene that you kind of half struggle
Yeah.
with the lack
No,
of the character.
yeah, I'm not saying that I wanted Rocky to be a major supporting player in this
No,
like
I
he
know
was
what
in the
you mean,
first two
yeah.
films. I think I just wanted even something like, just a little scene with him and like a 5-minute scene. And literally for me, it kind of was just a picture of him on his wall, like just a
Well,
picture of them together, like
yeah.
from the first two films or something like that. It was just something that, or even be cheap with it. You don't even have him text him or something and have a little text pop up, like kind of what they did with Val Kilmer in Top Gun. They had him like
Yeah.
text Tom Cruise.
Well, I mean, he
Something
did
like
show
that.
up eventually.
I mean, yeah, but obviously because that's all they can
Yeah.
really use him for. So, I just that thing that was a little bit a slight irritation for me. I think the film. Look, I understand this film was shot during lockdown and the pandemic, so getting big crowds in was a problem. But some of the CGI is a bit iffy.
See that last. There's
The
there's
the
last
scene.
scene.
Yeah, the last
Yeah.
scene,
I think we know
Yeah.
we both know what we're talking about there.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the cinema I was in was very kind of the audience was very much Creed fans.
Oh, right.
Best way to put it, right? And I was with my cousins, and I think everyone at the end was like, "God, they were great," and I'm going, "That's a really shit background, isn't it?"
Yeah.
I'm sitting there with my CGI hat on, going, "That's fucking fake."
It was, some of it was a bit distracting, and I get it. It's because of the circumstances that things were filmed in. You can't really use the big crowds
It's a shame.
like the first two films, which is a shame. But yeah, it the whole film doesn't really have that sort of like. I mean, it's more obviously like LA. It's glamorous. He's got his big mansion. It does kind of lack that like raw and gritty feeling of that first film. But hey, I mean, that's just the way it was. That's just the way it filmed. I can't really get too angry about that.
It's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, yeah. Did you feel the film for me was a little? I feel the pace was a bit off on the film. I don't know how you feel about this.
I blinked and it was over. I felt like
Oh, really? You thought it just went by too
I
fast?
I was well. I like to the point where I thought it was a bit too quick, right?
No,
Because
look, I think they may have taken their time too much in the first half, so that when
well,
you
yeah.
get to the
So this
second
is
half, I thought
yeah.
it was a bit rushed,
So this
especially
is
when
the
it
thing
came to
where
like the build up of the final
the
fight.
final
I feel like they really should have taken their time a bit more
my
there. Uh-huh.
my thing more was I think I lacked information between um the rise of Damien, so to speak,
Right.
right?
Uh-huh.
Because in my head, I was just like he
Mhm.
instantly went from zero
Yeah.
to everything in the space of about 10
Yeah, yeah,
minutes,
yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
I was sitting there kind of going, wait, what? What's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
on?
yeah.
I mean, even I was talking to my cousins as we came out. They kind of felt like the final fight felt a bit kind of rushed, especially like the
Yeah.
kind of training montage.
Hmm.
You know,
Even
it
yeah,
just I agree with you. Think like the first bit is quite slow. You know, we
mhm.
have a
And I was
flashback. We
fine
have
with.
a
I
lot
was
of
I was
you know.
heavily invested in it,
Oh
especially
yeah,
like
I'm not saying
yeah.
it's bad, but then when you have such a you know throttle up
Yeah,
pacing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
at the
It just
final act,
goes, yeah, and
you
to the
feel a
second
bit
half,
kind
it's
of
like
whiplashed at the end
let's,
of it.
yeah. So I feel
Because
like yeah,
I was standing there and I was like, wait, this is the final fight.
yeah,
I
yeah,
was like,
exactly. I was like, oh wow,
that's why I
okay,
was saying
yeah.
like I blinked midway through it and it was at the
Hmm.
final act.
Yeah, that was for me kind of a bit of a problem with it. I think it was a bit imbalanced. Some of it, no, I was fine with kind of the slower pace of the first half. I just think maybe they should have prioritized more time elsewhere. I mean, especially the film's on just under 2 hours. Maybe even give it 10 minutes more. Just give it a bit more in that second half. Give it a bit more time to breathe in certain points.
As I
Especially because
say,
Damien is
clearly
so
yeah, clearly
is
the
like
people wanted to see it. Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
absolutely.
it's not struggling for the box office at the moment. And
No,
if you
100 million worldwide debut, really big hit. It's great. So I just for that was a bit iffy for me, and yeah, I mean I think it's a sports movie. The structure is quite predictable, but hey, once again, it's a sports movie. You can't really be too annoyed at
yeah,
that.
nah, if you're predicting a sports movie,
Exactly.
come on now.
But yeah, so I guess we'll just go to scores before we do our spoiler section. So Kyle, what are you gonna give Creed 3?
I'm giving Creed a very solid 7.
7 out of 10. Okay.
It's a 7 out of 10. It's a solid 7. I wouldn't on any rewatch probably say it's lower than a 7.
Okay, very good. Got to copy you, Kyle. I'm exactly the same. I'm also going to give this quite a solid 7. Like I said, it's very watchable, very enjoyable. Dynamic between quote unquote antagonist and protagonist is very enthralling, and it has really great moments. It's just it has just little bits that kind of let it down for me, sadly, and doesn't really, I guess. It's not as strong as that first Creed film, but that first Creed film is really special to me. I really, really enjoy that film. But look, that's not saying this is a bad film at all. Like I said, 7 out of 10. I would highly recommend people go see it. It's a very fun
Oh,
time. at the movies.
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Especially
know,
if you're a Creed fan.
Ant-Man or Creed 3, like, let's,
Oh my god. That's night and day difference in terms of quality.
exactly.
Yes. But now we'll move on to the spoiler section. So, this is your warning. If you have not seen Creed 3, pause it, skip ahead to our Sanctuary review. Do not watch this, listen to this part of the show. So, Kyle, what bit, you were saying something earlier about something you wanted to get into in spoilers. Was it the final fight, the aspect of the final fight you wanted to talk about?
This is, oh, you've thrown me now here, but I completely forgot what I was going to say. Was it what I said that the scene I felt Rocky should have been in?
Actually, yeah, go for that first. Go for that one first, because
Right, okay,
I
sorry,
want to
yeah, I've
know.
lost my
Yeah,
train of thought here. So,
yeah,
partway through, so we get told earlier in the story that between the events of Creed 2 and Creed 3 that Adonis's mother has suffered from a stroke.
yes.
And, she has been a bit poorly. Obviously they've got all this money. I mean, to be fair, not that Adonis's mother doesn't have all that money because she was married to Apollo Creed.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they've been kind of trying to convince his mother to come into the house and live with him, and she was very, very anti it.
Mm-hmm.
And Bianca was always very much like she was a mother to me as well. And Sadly, halfway through the film, she suffers another stroke and passes away.
Yes.
Now, that leads to a classic funeral scene. Is that right?
Yeah, the funeral thing was
classic
also
funeral.
quite quickly done. Yeah.
It was quite quickly done, but that was the kind of one scene because right. So I was so in the loop this thing. I knew Stallone wasn't in it. I didn't realize it was a whole thing of why he wasn't in it.
Yeah.
Right, I just thought it was like the characters not. So I was convinced he was going to show up in a cameo because I didn't know there was a whole producer thing until after I saw this film, and it wasn't there. And I'm kind of like, this is the one scene in the film that kind of doesn't make sense to really not have any sort of reference.
Also,
see a phone call during that funeral scene would have made the whole thing because you're like, this character. Of Rocky was obviously very close to Apollo Creed, very close to that whole family.
Yeah.
Took Adonis under his wing. Was close with him and his mother. So for Rocky to not be there or not to be mentioned at Adonis, probably Adonis's lowest point in his life at this moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Something that's quite shocking because it's not even that he grew a relationship with Bianca during the first and second Creed film. It was the kind of one time in the entire film where I really felt it was lacking that Rocky character.
It's one of those like he kind of needs to be there just because he's his friend.
Something had to happen there.
Yeah, and even like when he's training in the desert and stuff again. Like, you'd think that would also be a point where Rocky would come back to the picture to help him train one last time, where he's doing the old school way and he's got Drago and his coach. But it's just, stupid studio politics gets in the way of this
was stupid studio politics. And, maybe, I highly doubt that the inclusion of Rocky would have, I don't know, maybe they've changed some things if the inclusion of Rocky would have pushed my ranking up of the film. But I don't feel Stallone has that much power over my critiques. But yeah, the final fight.
Yes.
Right? Can we get into that? So obviously, Adonis. Damien. Well, so the whole let's get into the nitty gritty of the story. So the whole Victor versus Felix fight was fraughted by Damien paying off an old cellmate of him to break Victor's hand so that Damien would have the chance to fight Felix. And Damien won using questionable techniques in the fight.
Questionable methods, yes, indeed.
A cheeky elbow to the face, which isn't allowed, as I've been told afterwards. And because I'm no expert. And he goes on to, and Adonis goes on TV and goes, "I want my title back, you prick."
Yeah, I like that. I like that scene. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and it's great. And also, I get credit to, we never mentioned this during the training montage, but Victor comes back,
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny to see that the main villain from the second film is his cheeky little sparring partner during this training montage. That was fun. So we get to the final fight of Damien versus Adonis. And apart from the CGI crowd at certain points, or the CGI stadium, so to speak, the final fight is very interesting. Right? And this is, I think, where
because I think
Michael's trying to flex.
Yeah, because, look, we've now seen, well, if you include all the Rocky films, there's 8 in this franchise, right? And other iconic boxing films, like Raging Bull was also, like, one of the greatest boxing films ever made and one of the most influential in terms of how that was filmed and to make it look really stylish. So Michael B. Jordan had to do something, and also the first Creed had the one shot fight, which is really, really impressive how they made that. That was really amazing. So Michael B. Jordan always has to do something, and he does take it to more, abstract levels instead, which I liked. With the crowd disappears, it's just them.
I really enjoyed that.
When he's up against the ropes, it's like the cell bars, and then when he puts Damien in the corner, it's like their old pillows that they had in the juvie. That was I really thought that was quite clever. I really enjoyed that stuff. Yeah.
So I watched
and that very anime. It's like everyone else disappears and it's two guys fighting. Yeah.
There's two punches that I know. So the gut punch, which then turns to the back and the sweat coming off of it. Is a Dragon Ball Z moment, and then the one where they both knock each other. Well, they not knock each other out, but they both punch into their face. Yeah. That's another Dragon Ball Z moment. And so that was very. So I was sitting there. I was going, nice. I was like, I'm the only person in this entire cinema that understands that reference.
Understand that
but
reference,
nice.
Nice, yeah.
And so yeah, so the extra bit that he was going to go for, but he didn't in the end, was he was going to add inner monologues in that moment.
Oh, that so very anime when they just
So this is a point. I think he decided I'm going a bit over the top here.
That's too far.
Because he wanted, because obviously when the crowd goes away, it is very silent and it's very, like the sound effect at that point is really good because you can really hear every foot kind of squeach on the mat, every every movement of every muscle you feel you hear.
Yeah.
So probably having Jonathan Majors and Michael B. Jordan in their heads going, I'm gonna beat this fucker. Yeah. It probably would have ruined the moment. I think. I think that was a good decision.
I wish the no audience thing went on longer. Actually, I think I wish it went on for 2 rounds instead of just the one. I also kind of wish they didn't have the mist around this. I wish they just had it empty. You didn't need. It's one of those things where it's like in like Mission Impossible 6 where they're doing the halo jump scene. They added some CGI clouds and lightning, and it's like you didn't need to add that stuff. It was the sort of thing that I think you didn't need to add that CGI clouds.
The thing with the mist, right? Now this would have been different is that if they got to film it at a state at a venue.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't know where I don't know where they filmed this. To be fair, I thought they filmed it
not in front of a venue because
that's what I mean. Like,
seats were CGI.
Surely that would have, if it was pandemic stuff. Like, I'm always thinking logistically.
But that's my thinking. I was like, it's going to be empty anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be empty. So surely you could just get the two of them in there and just film that scene if it in an empty stadium. Me because
I know what you mean by the mist, but I do think that was them trying to cover the fact that they had to CGI the seats. So the more mist they put in, the less seats they had to put in. But I love the fact that it broke when they punched each other in the face. I was like, because that would have been a full your concentration breaks moment. So I really enjoyed that aspect. I mean the final fight, I have to say I did quite enjoy.
Yeah, it was.
And may I put Jonathan Majors, actually scary the size he is.
Yeah, he's massive. He's absolutely massive.
See when he first had a shirtless scene or something. I genuinely looked at my cousin. I went, "What the fuck is that? That is a scary." And then I came out of it right, and me and my cousins were talking, and I went, "You know, Paul Rudd beat him up."
Paul Rudd could beat him up. Put Paul Rudd in the ring. What are you doing?
And my cousin looked at me and went, "Fuck."
Oh, it's ridiculous. That was ridiculous. Oh my god, that was so stupid.
It makes it even stupider watching this and then just going, well, technically, I'm pretty sure Paul Rudd could beat Michael B. Jordan. So.
I think Paul Rudd is the heavyweight champion of the world, Kyle. Well, it's just a fact.
If you take that logic and apply it to this universe, he could beat everybody up.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. But I'll say my other favourite scene between Damien and Adonis was actually the diner scene early in the film when he kind of first meets him and he takes him to lunch. And it's only like a few minutes. I think it's like maybe 4 minutes long or something like that. Probably not even. And it's just like the two of them are just. I mean, it's really simply put. They're such great actors, right? And they just embody them. And the way both of them could just like. There's so much like just history, even in the way they're like their facial the facial muscles are moving, and that's what Jonathan Majors is so good is because he has such an expressive face, and you see even in Ant-Man, but really in this in The Last Black Man in San Francisco, like he really utilizes his face a lot. He goes from like being like kind of really touched by certain moments, and then just like within a split second focuses up to like, oh yeah, I want to like go up and be the heavyweight champion of the world, and just that dynamic in that diner was just great, and there was a little bit of tension as well because he gives them that money and he's like, I don't want to hand out, and he's like, okay, and then you could tell there's that guilt as well in Adonis.
Well, see, that's the thing. So obviously, to kind of go back onto the story. Adonis was the one who started this fight on. It was one of the foster dads from the old care home. Leon beat them up. And Adonis starts going in on him, and he gets pulled back, and Damien comes in and saves him and pulls a gun. Doesn't shoot anybody, just pulls a gun. The cops come, and Adonis runs away. And you feel during this scene it's the unspoken tension
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
where
That
at this
wall.
point
There's that wall.
yeah, so
Yeah.
at this point, us as the audience don't know exactly what happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we don't know that Adonis ran away and Damien got the stitch for it. So you're kind of, but there's something, there's a history here, and Adonis's mother kept all the letters that Damien had been
Yeah,
sending
yeah.
the entire time. And I have to say that I actually quite enjoyed not the final scene with the horrific CGI background and they're in the ring.
Yeah.
But after spoilers, Adonis wins the match, by the way, just in
Yes.
case you want to know.
Uh-huh.
He goes into Damien's change room and has a chat with him.
Yeah, yeah,
And a part of me is a wee bit bummed because it just kind of like they kind of go cool and he goes away.
Mhm.
I kind of wish there would have been a wee bit like Adonis just sat and like stayed and chatted with him for a wee bit longer.
Yeah,
Like, the idea that he just kind of goes in and goes, listen, we can make this work, we can become friends
Yeah.
again. But he's like, I'm actually just gonna go party though with my family and friends. See you later. I would have liked the whole like solemn thing where he kind of,
Would you like it
he
if
sits
yeah,
with-
actually like they cut it and they like went to like a bar and had a drink or something?
Well, it's something like
Not
because I
even
feel
that.
in the head is that like this whole fight was Adonis teaching Damien a lesson,
Yeah.
right? It's not about Adonis winning because he's already won. He's had it all. That's the whole thing in the film. He's retired. He'd gone. He peaked, right?
Yeah, he peaked and he
And-
left. He left while still being champ. Yeah.
And I felt this film was meant to be the fact that he was teaching Damien a lesson, that he's sorry for taking us away from Damien, but also that Damien couldn't just not cheat his way because he was a very skilled fighter,
Yeah.
but bend the rules to his advantage.
Yeah.
So for him
and
to go in and
use
just
everyone
be like,
around him. Yeah.
So for him to go in at this final scene and kind of go, look, you can do it.
Mhm.
You have to do it the right way. I would have loved it if they did like continue to talk and Damien open up a wee bit more. Except then it felt like Adonis turning and going like, I'm going to go celebrate me winning millions. I mean, Damien probably won millions as well because that's how these pay-per-view fights win.
Yeah.
It just kind of felt that like I fully think that Adonis would have probably sat and stood and stayed there and chatted because I do think that fight was him trying to straighten Damien's path
Yeah.
and not let him verge off again.
Mhm.
Because then it would have avoided that really bad CGI stadium at the last shot.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
saying. Just saying.
Well, actually, before we kind of move on, what do you expect for this franchise to go? Do you expect
This
it
is
to
weird,
end
right?
here?
Because I kind of do. Because I just kind of feel it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because well, to be honest, at the start of the film, it kind of tells you that Adonis's character is finished.
Mm-hmm.
He's peaked,
Yeah.
He's
He
not done a
retired.
Dennis
Came out of
Reynolds.
retirement. Is probably retired again.
He's back in. I know they teased that Amara is got a bit of a boxer in her.
Yeah.
But that actor is like 10.
Yes, you'd have to give it 10 years to do
I
something like that.
you're not don't do that. I don't know, Matt. I don't know if they're gonna do as you say and then turn it into the Drogo franchise, right?
Mhm.
I don't think that would work because I don't think you've got the star power
No,
that is
I don't think that works at
Jordan
all.
behind it.
Yep.
I don't see there being. Have they announced a Creed 4?
No, but this film has done really well. And
It's made a lot of money.
It's made
They're
a lot
not
of
gonna
money
pass
already.
on that.
But it's like, yeah, where do you take the story next? Do you then
I
focus on Damien now? And maybe Creed
Oh.
and Damien's relationship?
I don't know because they're talking about the fact that even in the film they were talking about how these actors and these characters are actually too old for the sport.
Yeah, they're at the end of the line, yeah.
I feel like by the time when did Creed 2 come out? Like
2018. Just 5 years ago.
5 years. So, bear in mind we're post pandemic, so everything was a bit quicker.
Mhm.
Even then you're looking at 2025 probably before 2026.
Yeah.
Well,
they could churn another one out quite fast,
they could, but even in 3 years, you're looking at the fact that Michael B. Jordan we
Michael B.
pushing
Jordan
what?
looks. Michael B. Jordan could pull off a younger age. You
I,
know, they
I,
could set
I,
it like a
right,
year
yes,
after
that you
this
know what
one.
I'm talking about. But the
Uh,
fact is, it's because in story they've acknowledged it.
yeah, yeah, that becomes
Is that I
important.
don't? Is that I think they've acknowledged it and they think they maybe want to move it on.
Mhm.
Is it going to turn around and now Creed's going to be the teacher to a new generation? Because obviously we
Could
had
be.
that Felix
Yeah.
come in.
Well, we've had that with
Is it going to be?
The Rocky films as well.
He did. I mean, I don't know. I'm a bit hesitant because
Mhm.
I think this is probably hear me out here. Probably one of the most solid trilogies I have seen in a long time.
Yeah, it's quite solid. It's quite good.
Right?
Uh huh.
Compared to, I mean, I can't think right now in recent memories of just a simple trilogy that's
Mhm.
been as good as the Creed films. I don't want them to ruin it
Mhm. Okay.
because I feel you may be stretching a story here.
Yeah, but that's the thing with these boxing films. It's actually quite incredible they've made 9 if you include all the Rocky films. Like,
Yeah,
how many
true.
stories you can get with this, and some of them are very good. So, but like I said, the next like logical or logical step that you could take with this is if you do like a Rocky Balboa, but once again you have to take time with that, or like an Amara thing with a female boxer. Once again, you have to take time with that because you have to wait 10 years. It doesn't have to be that specific actors, to be fair. I'm just talking about the world,
Yeah.
unless they want to make a futuristic, Rocky
No.
film where it's like 10 years in the future. But
You know,
I don't
you're
know.
saying taking time. We have to look at the fact that obviously Michael B. Jordan is a big star, and he's only get bigger now. Being this is his first directorial
He's now a
debut.
director, yeah.
And he may want to experiment with this. You
Mhm.
know, he wanted to experiment with this directing power. Jonathan Majors, I say, is going to be a very busy boy for the next
Yes.
few years. Not even including the Marvel stuff, because obviously
yeah.
that's going to be a big
Time commitment, yeah.
time consumer. I do think he'll be getting a lot of stuff. He's got another film coming out this year, hasn't he? The whole
Yeah, the one where he's a
bodybuilder
supermodel.
one.
The supermodel bodybuilder, you're right? Yeah. Bodybuilder one. I can't remember what that's called, but that'll be a big potential awards contender thing. So yeah,
So
and he's also going to be in Loki. He's going to be in
all up
Loki as
it's
well
all-
this year. So that's
Yeah,
like
that's
4
true, he's gonna be in
projects he's in
Loki.
the 1 year. Busy man.
And it's that's the thing, man. I'm like, everybody's gonna be so busy. We have had a concise story. Maybe wait 5 years and then, like you say, do a further one, and then maybe Damien comes in for a cameo and like helps the new generation train.
I'm hopefully maybe Sylvester Stallone's patched things up with that Irving guy, and
He'll be
he
dead
can
by
come back
then.
in it. What?
He'll be dead by then. He's
What,
old.
Sylvester
He did the
Stallone?
he'll be too busy with the Samaritan franchise that he's building up in Amazon Prime.
Of course, yeah. It's Sylvester
He's
Stallone's only
old.
his 70s. Maybe that Irving Winkler. Oh my god, I think I just remembered the name at the top of my head.
It is Irving Winkler. I checked it
yeah.
up. It's not Isaac. I got I.
I think he's quite old. I think he might be 90 or something. So
Jesus.
yeah, he could.
There was a Rambo film in 2019.
Yeah, Rambo: Last Blood. Wasn't meant to be very
I didn't know
good.
they were still making those.
Aye, well, it's the last one. It's Last Blood. You know what I mean? It's on the
Oh.
title, Kyle. It's on the title.
Last Blood, Laster. It's gonna be the next one.
No, it's
Anyway.
Last Blood Part 2, surely. Anyway, sorry. Right, that is our Creed 3 review. So, let us know what you think and all that nonsense in the comments below and whatever. But now it's time to move on to review for The Sanctuary.
And now, reviews.
So, The Sanctuary is directed by Zachary Wiggin and was written by Michael Bloomberg. This is a film that premiered at the Toronto Toronto International Film Festival in September last year, and just recently where I saw at the Glasgow Film Festival, and it's still awaiting a 2023 release. It was acquired by some production company, and not production company, distributor, and it's going to get released sometime in 2023 globally. But yeah, so the film opens with Hal, who's played by Christopher Abbott, and he's waiting for his dominatrix Rebecca, who's played by Margaret Qualley, who you might know from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or The Maid on Netflix, which is a really big show. And so their meetups are always very meticulously planned. Every detail is written in a script beforehand, and they all have to follow their lines exactly how Hal wants it. But once their encounter comes to an end, Hal wants to move on from this long-standing relationship. He believes it's time to move on from this, and he's entering a new phase of his life, which does not sit right with Rebecca, and so things turn ugly once she hears this news. But so The Sanctuary is this really fun, sharply written drama, comedy, thriller, all rolled into one. It's this slick 90-minute feature that is like constantly engaging, it's constantly going, and a lot of that comes down to the pairing of Christopher Abbott and Margaret Qualley. Their dynamic and their chemistry is electric, both playing off each other with like energy and dynamism. It just feels like that was just a great casting call from the director, from the casting director. It just like, boom, it always works. Like, they're able to make it like erotic and silly and sincere when it needs to be as well. Like, the painting's really well done. The way the film keeps you engaged with each, the film is kind of split into very kind of distinct 3 acts. You can kind of tell when it's going to like another portion of the film just by like the layout and like the way they sort of like begin another portion, which with each act kind of tackles a different dynamic of their relationship, which is quite fun. And they can have a really like solid structure to it. There's this whole theme of this imbalance of power, which is like raised of like who's really in power. Is it the dominatrix, or is it the sub who actually has the power in those kind of relationships? And it reminded me of
your personal life. Yeah.
No, yes, of course. No, it's another film, The Duke of Burgundy, which came out in 2014, which really brilliantly explored that theme as well. Which was it was a bit more serious though. But check out The Duke of Burgundy. It's on BFI Player if you can. Fantastic film. This imbalance of power releases some like really great scenes of tension, and as well as comedic highlights. Just the way the way they're able to use like their position to sort of manipulate the other one and to make it go, is this just a game? Is this reality? Is what I'm saying serious, or am I just playing my part like you always make me play? Really, really clever stuff there. And there's that stuff. There's this really interesting idea of how fiction and fantasy can actually help us see truth in ourselves and provide insight into our own lives. Like, that was a really, really nice thing I think they added to it, was how this relationship and this fantasy and this play games and all that stuff, what this actually reveals about Rebecca and what it reveals about how, like, what their fetishes tell us and what, like, this whole relationship actually means. Guys, honestly, when The Sanctuary, I hope it gets a wide release. I hope it's actually, gets a lot of buzz when it comes out, because it was a lot of fun and it was a really nice surprise. The whole thing's also set in like one location, pretty much primarily one like hotel room, which is really, really cool. And I thought that would get, from the beginning I thought, oh, okay, it might get a little dull, but it doesn't. When that sort of like first 20 minutes goes by and it gets into beyond like their little play act thing, it becomes really quite interesting and really, really engaging. And it was like a slick 90-minute film, really fun. Margaret Qualley and Christopher Abbott are just great together. I had a lot of fun with it. I think where the flaws come in, I think it comes down to how you feel about the ending. It comes by quite fast. Not like it just cuts to black or anything like that. Just like the whole sort of resolution.
What is the runtime?
It's it's literally an hour 36, and that includes credits.
Right. Okay. So it's
pretty 90
tight.
minutes. Pretty tight. Yeah. But when it comes to end, I think some people might think it's a bit silly. I didn't. I thought it was a bit sweet, and it was actually kind of reminded me of some like, like Hays Code era Hollywood films, and sort of the way they kind of conclude their endings on like a specific note, which I won't spoil. But yeah, The Sanctuary was a really pleasant surprise, and like I said, when it comes out, when it gets a proper release date, I will remind everyone to go see it because it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to give The Sanctuary a solid 8 out of 10 because I had a lot of fun with it. So yes, that'll wrap up today's show, guys. So thank you very much, Kyle, for joining me for the Creed review.
Welcome as always.
Thank you. And yeah, on next week's show, guys, we're of course moving to TV once again. We're going to be talking about The Last of Us. We're going to be doing our full spoiler-free and spoiler-filled review of HBO's adaptation of one of the most iconic modern games to date. And yeah, we just gave our opinion on Creed 3 and The Sanctuary, but those were unwanted opinions. Thank you very much.